Hello everyone, welcome to AI Anytime channel. In today's video, we are going to explore Deep Infra. So Deep Infra acts as an infrastructure as a service. It helps you deploy production grade open source machine learning models, with a very affordable rate. So basically they have some GPUs and they already have model set up and configured on their infrastructure. You can just spin up that model and deploy it right away, and you can use that open source large language models or any other deep learning models through a high level API. Okay, basically this works similar way when you compare Deep Infra with Replicate. Okay, but Replicate is little bit off on the costlier side. That's why we are going to see that how we can leverage Deep Infra. Okay, and we'll have a look at the basically the some of the open source models and see how we can deploy it and use it through an API. This also provides you 1 hour of free trial on NVIDIA A100 GPU. I think that's really interesting because one hour of NVIDIA A100 GPU is again a big task, right? For these companies to serve people or the community, right? And that's what we are going to basically see in this video, that how we can use Deep Infra to deploy these production grade models. Okay, and this basically helps you with the fast machine learning inference just through a simple API. So if you come over here on the their website, you will see they say run the top AI models using a simple API, and it's pay per use, so you don't have to pay anything up front or something, right? Whatever inference you make, you will be just occur the cost for that. Okay, it's low cost, scalable and production ready infrastructure. So basically you can do it two ways. You can also use deepctl. If you have worked with Kubernetes, you have kubectl. I think they have just taken from there, right? Deepctl. So you can use their command line utilities tool to also deploy it, and you can also deploy it through dashboard and use the APIs basically in your application or wherever you want to use it. Okay, that's what we're gonna do here in this case, guys. So if you come over here, they have a lot of featured models. What we loved, used and implemented the most last month. You can see they have categorized the models into some verticals. For example, text generation. So if you want to use an open source deep learning model on text generation, you can just click on text generation. So let's see. So in text generation, they have Dolly by Databricks. They have GPT-2, okay, on GPT-2 which is a transformers model, right? Transformers based model. So you have GPT-2, you have DALL-E, and if you click on text to image, you have stable diffusion, you have open journey, for example, right? And then you have automatic speech recognition. You have whisper large here, guys. So suppose, for example, if you are doing any hobby project, or if you are doing any project in your college, right, you can look at this model because they provide you 1 hour free or something, right? You can at least test it out. Okay, so they have basically configured all this model on their infra, and now you can just deploy it by one click, and that's what we are going to explore in this video. So they have many other verticals: image classification with ResNet, object detection with YOLOs, zero sort with Clip. Okay, you can also Clip by OpenAI again. You can have a look at that. Flan T5, one of the most underrated model. I always say Flan T5 is one of the most underrated language model. Not that large, but does the job perfectly fine there. Okay, so these are the models that we have. How to deploy Deep Infra in seconds. It will not take you even more than 1 minute, guys, to deploy a model, and we'll just see how we can basically use that. Okay, maybe through a Colab notebook or something. We'll try it out. Okay, so if you see this, let's go to their pricing. So if you come on their pricing, it's a simple pricing, deep infrastructure. I like the tagline, deep infrastructure. Yeah. So you can see NVIDIA A100 GPU. A100 has been the the gadgeted GPU there for generative AI models. Okay, and you can see, right, 1 hour free. 1 hour is free, and it has been built as 0.0005. It's very minimal, right, per second. It's built per millisecond, and you can see if you compare per minute, it's 0.03 per minute, which is 78% less than Replicate. So Replicate, if you can come over here on Replicate is again like a provide you the infrastructure again here on Replicate. Replicate has a vast pool of models because Deep Infra has just started. And just for your information, guys, this video is not been sponsored by Deep Infra or something. Okay, I really like Deep Infra when I was working with it recently. So that's why I wanted to create a video so you can also explore. Okay, so if you come over here on pricing, You can see there NVIDIA A140 GB GPU, 0.138 per minute. Okay, if you compare that with Deep Infra, okay, on their pricing. So it says 78% less than replicate. So you can at least try it out. Now if you come on the models, you can find out all the models again here. Okay, BERT and a lot of other models. Okay, FinBERT and all, they have it. Star Coder for code generation. They have Resonate for image classification. The Robotabase for text generation. A lot of other things, the question answering and all, you can do it. Let's click on dashboard. Now when I click on dashboard, what I'm going to do here in this case is to create an API keys or see if I have an API keys. You can see I don't have any deployments yet. It says no deployment. So let me first see on API keys. I have no API keys, but I assume if you come on this dashboard for the first time, you will have an API key here that I have deleted. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is create a new API key. I'll just give it a name, for example, Deep Infra demo or something. Generate API key. So you can see now I have generated an API key. I'll just copy it over here on this API key, guys. Okay, and anyway, I'll use this API key. I'll delete it after this video, right? So that doesn't make sense. Now we have deployments. Let's create a new deployment. Now when I click on add new deployment, you can select a model for deployment. What model we should take? Let's take Falcon, guys. Okay, let me search if I have Falcon here. Okay, so Falcon 7B by the UAE TII, right? The one of the best open source model that we currently have. Now I have worked with Falcon and MPTs and Llamas and Vicunas of the world, and I found Falcon really well. Okay, even Falcon 7B when you compare this with MPT 7B. So let's click on deploy. Now when I deploy this, what it does, you can see it didn't even take more than more than 5 seconds. Now it says status is running. Okay, this is deployment, it's running. Now what we're gonna do here is, let's see. Okay, so maybe what I can do, I can open a notebook. Let me see if I can spin up a notebook quickly, and I'm gonna open a notebook. I'm gonna open a collaboratory here, guys, in Colab, and you can see this is active, one deployment ID. We have deployed Falcon 7B, status is running. You can come on API keys, you have a key over here, then you go to uses. Now if you come to uses, you will see that the rate, the charge currently, we haven't used it anything here. That's why you see it's totally 0. In settings, you can put your card and all if you want to keep on trying, and if you want to work with Deep Infra for some other models, you have to basically put your card there, to use that. Now let's come here and see. We'll write, let's write Deep Infra demo or something. Okay, now this is what I'm going to do here. Let's connect to a runtime, and basically we'll use requests here. Now you can also go through their documentation. So you have to, for that you have to, let's come back on their docs, and in docs now you can read about all their basically how to use this. Okay, basically they have given you command line tool, deepctl. You can also use that, but I am more interested using through a request, to make a HTTP GET request or something to get that. Okay, doing inference, you can see it, right? This is the inference endpoint that will take it from here, and we'll do get or post whatever we want to do. Okay, depending on the use case. For example, if you want to deploy a whisper model, then you have to do a post request to send that audio. Okay, and even on Falcon, if you are trying to set up the hyperparameters, okay, like parameters for the response, then again you can do a post by setting up maximum number of tokens and all. But I will keep it very simple in this video, guys. So I think runtime is connected. Now let's do one thing. Let's import request here, guys. So import request comes pre-installed in Colab, and the next thing is our URL. So our URL will be nothing but this. Let me see. This is our URL, guys. So I'm just gonna copy it over here. HTTPS. This is our endpoint. Okay. So this model name will not be this. So this model name will be. Let me see where we have Falcon. Let me just go to Falcon here. Search Falcon 7B. Okay. This is our model name. And here we go. So now we have defined our URL. So URL has been defined. This is the URL endpoint we are going to hit. Okay. This is the URL from Deep Infra, and the next thing that I'm going to do is API_key, my API key here, guys. So my API key will be nothing but what was my key? Let me come back to API keys, copy this, and most probably I will delete this API keys after this tutorial video, guys. So API key has been done. Now let's set an input text or prompt or something like that. Okay, what we can do is write an article on artificial intelligence. It's okay, write an article on artificial. This is our prompt that we are going to make to Falcon to retrieve some kind of response or generate some response. Now we are expecting that Falcon that we have deployed will generate some article on artificial intelligence. So this is our input text, and now let's put some headers. So in headers, what I'm going to do here is, it's a key value pair, it's a dictionary. Okay, so in headers I'm going to put a content type. Content type will be nothing but the, so here is very interesting thing. Okay, if you are basically making, if you're trying to send a file, okay, which is little bigger in size, okay, for example 1 MB of size, if you're trying to make a post request, I will suggest you to use something like multi-part. You can use multi-part for that. It works very good for it helps you scale your entire workflow of API that you are using. Okay, it's very fast when you compare with this content type of application JSON. Okay, maybe you can read that about on internet or somewhere. So application JSON is my content type, and the next thing I'm going to do here is authorization. So I think I spelled it wrong, authorization, and my authorization will nothing but the token bearer, so bearer and the API keys. Okay, I can also pass this API key here, guys. Okay, let me just pass it over here. Okay, so you can also pass this here, the same API key. Okay, you can also pass that in parentheses with API key as well. Okay, so let me pass it over here. We don't have to write it over here, otherwise we have to write API key over here in authorization. So headers, so our headers is done. Now we have, what I'm going to do here is payload. So we have to create a payload that we can send it to this API endpoint. So in this payload, what I'm going to do here is, again, it's a key value pair. The first thing is our input. So our input is, let me just write input, and this input will also take excuse me, sorry, in this you will write prompt, and this prompt is nothing but our input text. So let's write input text. This is our payload. So in this payload, what we are doing, we have an input, we are passing the prompt input text. You can also define your parameters like maximum number of tokens and all those things, but you can explore that. Okay, so input and prompt and then input text. So let's run this. So our payload and headers are done. Now the next thing is, let's have a try except, guys. Okay, to see, most probably we should not get any error, but we can handle it. So response, and in this response, what I'm going to do is request. So request dot post, I'm going to post this in URL, and headers. So headers equals, what headers equals headers, and then we have JSON equals payload. Okay, JSON equals payload. This response looks good. Request dot post. Now what we can also do, response that rage underscore for status, rage underscore for status, and what I'm going to do here, let's print that response JSON. Okay, response underscore JSON, and now what I'm going to do here is, and this response JSON is a function, by the way, so let's do that. Okay, and response JSON. Now what I'm going to do, let's have an except for any error handling, and maybe you can just write the request handling. So request dot exception, if you get any exceptions, request dot exceptions dot request, excuse me, request exception as E, and that can just print it out, the error, whatever error we get. Okay, so print error, and this error is nothing but the thing that we're going to do here is E. Now everything looks nice. Let's have a review. So what I'm going to do here is, we have an API key that we don't have to define this API key. Let me just delete it out there, because we directly defined in the authorization with the API key bearer here. Now we have an URL, the endpoint. Now we have the input text. We have the headers. For headers, you can see the content type application JSON. For authorization, we have this token bearer, which holds your API keys, and then the payload, we have input prompt, input text, and this is what I'm going to pass in try. Okay, so rage for status. Now everything looks nice. Let's see if we run this and if we get any error. it says invalid syntax. Okay, let's see that. Okay, this will be, I think I made a blunder there. Now what it will do, guys, probably, okay, you can see we have got a body, okay, we have got a response. Okay, now what it has done, if you see this, let me just copy this entire thingy over here. Let me just copy it. Let me come back here, format JSON online or something. Okay, something like this, and it says request ID got undefined. Anyway, let's fine. Let's see it here in the. Let me do one thing. Jet. Let me open a VS Code and shift N. And here I'm just gonna paste Alt G, and now you can see it, right? This is the response that we have got, guys. Output. So now we can pass this output again. Output. We can pass it. Write an article on artificial intelligence. That was our basically the prompt, and now we have got the response. I want article on artificial intelligence. Something I can write the article as per unit. I have written articles on different topics. So basically it hallucinated, guys. Okay, now you can see we are using Falcon, which has hallucinated. Now what we can do, hope you are doing well. So basically this hallucinated. Okay, let's change the prompt and see. Okay, write an article on artificial intelligence. Let me just make some. Write an article on artificial intelligence. It should discuss the importance. It should discuss the pros and cons to the society. Now let's hit that. So you got this, right? In this output that we have got, the model has hallucinated. That's a problem with large language models. Okay, this open source language models, and you should not compare these large open source language models with ChatGPT, to be honest. Okay, every day I see in the Reddit community that this open source model has performed better than ChatGPT. Sorry, there is no model in this world right now that can even come closer to GPT-4. There is no model like that. Otherwise, OpenAI is not a fool. They would have made this completely open source. Okay, there is a reason that these models are commercials, guys. Okay, because these models are far better than all these open source models currently. When you see this open source model performance on human eval and MBPP, they kind of failed like anything. Okay, so we should not compare this model. We should appreciate it, because eventually the open source will win this race. Okay, to be honest, that's what Jan LeCun also says. But we should not compare this model with ChatGPT and GPT-4 in general, I'll say, because right now ChatGPT that we use, it's I think backed by 3.5 turbo on the free version, or 3, right, DaVinci. So now let's see this prompt and change if we get the output here. So now we have got it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to copy this again. Let me just copy, and I'll just come back here, and I'll just paste it over here, right? And you can see this is a very good article to understand the pros and cons of AI in our society. This can be used for research and writing the assignment. Please check the attachment for the complete assignment. Thanks. So now you can understand, right? So what we have to do here in this case, just to get the output in a way that we need, maybe we have to look at the parameters of max number of tokens, temperature, penalties, etc. to basically generate better responses. And the other thing is that we can also use, I don't know, we can also use a better prompt techniques that we are sending it over here, maybe some instructions and all. But you can try it out. The purpose is not that, okay, because I already have created a lot of videos in the past, showing how to use LangChain, and even without LangChain, how to use better prompt techniques, to generate better responses from a language model, right? In this video, the complete focus was to how to, deploy a model on Deep Infra. For example, you see the model that we have deployed here on Falcon 7B, and how we can use that through as an API, right? How simple it is, right, to do that. So you can explore different other models. So if you come over here on the models, you can look at all the models. So if you click on viewing all, it's already viewing. You can see all the models here. So go ahead, for example, on Whisper Large, you can go ahead and deploy this model. Okay, Whisper Large. This is the large Whisper. Whisper has, I think, 4 different types of model weights. Okay, so I hope I think you will use Deep Infra for some of your pet or hobby projects, even in free. But if you also want to go with premium, maybe you can also explore, because pricing is very good. Okay, I found this pricing very good when I compare this with Replicate. I'm not going to compare this pricing with SageMaker, for example, guys, because on those hyperscalers you have a lot of other features that these players can't give you those features. Okay, because those are bigger cloud services that they provide, right? They are just starting it out. For example, Replicate and Deep Infra, these are good for deploying a model and test it out. Even on production grade, you can do that. You can deploy your model, and again you can plug this in with your AWS, Azure, or GCP services. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do in this video, guys, to help you create little bit of awareness on Deep Infra, because I really liked it, how simple it is to deploy an open source model. Okay, so let me know your thoughts and feedback on Deep Infra. If you have any other findings on Deep Infra, please let me know what you think of this infrastructure as a service stack. And for any questions or feedback, please drop your comment in the comment box. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, please hit the like icon, and if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, do subscribe the channel, and please share this video and channel with your friends and to peer. Okay, so that's all for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.